Hello, everyone. Welcome to the tea ceremony or tea gatherings of Japan, which is one of the cultural events of ENVA Consortium International Week. I'm a facilitator of this session. My name is Masa Okada, professor of Keio Business School, and hosts. Let me touch upon a couple of things. Definitely, we are still under the pandemic situation, so it is impossible for us to get together face to face in Japan. But I strongly hope that in the near future, we would like to get together and experience actual tea ceremony. And second of all, I would like to mention that getting prepared for this session, actually, we found out that it's really difficult for us to present the actual tea ceremony, of course. And also, it is very hard for us to show you the beautiful scenery of the Japanese garden, traditional garden, where we usually host tea gatherings. So that's why we decided to video shoot the actual tea gathering under the daylight. And I hope you'll enjoy the video later on. So let me first introduce our main hosts. Both are alumni of our ENVA program of Keio Business School, as well as the ENVA Consortium participants. Actually, now I introduce Kiko.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
And she actually participated in the Savant, Turkey, as well as Cranfield, England, as International Week. And on my right, on your left, let me introduce Shoko.
Hello.
She's also an alumnus of our Executive MBA program and also participated in the Cranfield, UK as International Week. So let me pass it on to the Shoko to the introduction section.
So before we go,
right.
Yes.
Please introduce facilitators.
Let me introduce the other facilitators. I will introduce them in the order they are listed in the information. So first, Mr. Takeshi Shiromaru. Can you wave? Okay, thank you. And second, Michael, probably she will join later on. Miss Michael Ota. And next, Mr. Yasushi Nakatogawa. Can you wave? Nakatogawa-san. Okay. And next, Miss Reika Morishita. And next, Miss Riri Negishi. Okay, thank you. And finally, Miss Sayaka Iwai. Okay, thank you. They will be your facilitator for the breakout session. Okay, thank you very much. So I will pass on to Shoko.
Hello, everyone. This is Shoko. Welcome to our tea gathering. Could you pass a slide, please? Okay, and this is today's agenda. I'd like to start from a brief introduction of a way of tea in Japan. Then I will show the Keio Ember Tea Club. And after my presentation, Akiko will take a lead. And we'll all invite you to our tea gathering at the Sanken Garden. And it will be 15 minutes video. Then after the video, Akiko will update for the utensil and the decoration in the tea gathering. After Akiko's presentation, and we will put you into the breakout sessions into the small group. Please discuss your tea culture and please bring your tea or coffee, sweets with you. Then after that, we'll pick up the good episode and the interesting story during the discussion. And at the end, we will have a Q&A session. Okay, we shall begin. And can you pass the slide, please? Okay, I will start to have a brief introduction about Weiwa tea. Weiwa tea, it has a 500 years of history, and it carries generation to generation to today. It is representing expression of Japanese hospitality. The host invite the guests into the tea room, and the host prepare with a lot of effort. Wa, kei, sei, jaku. Those four words are the principles defined by Senno Rikyu in 16th century. Akiko will cover this part later. Move back to the slide, please. Two slides. Oh, that's okay. Yeah. Anyway, I'll go over for the way of a tea. It's a comprehensive art, and it is appreciation to the nature. And you can see the influences by various culture around the world. And in the tea room, please use your five senses. What you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you touch, and what you listen. Okay, and slide is okay, Aziz. And then I like to share with the Keio EMBA Tea Club with you. Akiko and myself are two founders of this club, and it was supervised by MBA Tea Club. The main purpose is it is for executives to be familiar with the Japanese culture. And this is very exclusive opportunity to give intellectual inspiration to the executives. And we like to connect comprehensive art with business leaders. And it is fortunate we are building up the network in Keio, EMBA, MBA, faculties, and undergrad tea club. Now, we are pleasure to have you today. And it's many various locations on campus, offline, and the seasonal gathering. And under COVID-19, it is certainly a challenge to do the activities. However, we've been planning, executing by ourselves with the team in various locations, and the positive feedback from participants is surely rewarding for us. Okay, can you pass the slide, please? Okay, this is an example of our tea gathering. Left-hand side, we held a gathering in the spring for the graduation celebration, and the right-hand side, we had in summer. That was a farewell for the member who was going on study abroad. Can you pass the slide, please? And the way of tea could be very innovative and adaptable. A meeting room of a Keio business school turned out to be a very decent tea room. After the class, we got together and we experienced a way of tea. Next slide, please. And beside tea gathering, we did the field work and tour of a tea industry in Shizuoka, which is 40 minutes a bullet train ride from a metropolitan Tokyo. And this is very famous for the tea industry. And you can see the very left-hand side picture is showing a trading place of the tea in the market. Can you pass the next slide, please? And this is the experimental online tea gathering we recently had under COVID-19 situation. And our theme was a new day. What we did was we did the relay of the tea. First, bowl of tea was served from a very traditional Japanese tea room. And the second tea was served from very modern living room. Other participants joined online from their home. Then we share the value and we share the moment. Can you pass the slide, please? Now, we are here for the global online tea gathering with you. Please follow Akiko and enjoy. I'll pass it to Akiko.
Okay, thank you, Shoko. So now I will guide you through the video. So before we start, I'd like to say that Shoko, as Shoko said, tea gathering can be enjoyed by 5 senses. So to let you feel the atmosphere, I will try to keep my comments as little as possible. I hope you enjoy the video. David, Also, if you have a question, please type in your question in the Q&A. Thank you. David, could you turn on the video? Hi everyone, we're here in Tankei. We are going to have a tea gathering here. Attending members are Mr. Professor Okada, Ms. Suzuki, and Ms. Yamashita, and myself, also Yamashita. Let's go. Let's enjoy this gathering. Okay, Sankei is a Japanese garden built by a wealthy entrepreneur. Within this garden, there are several historic tea rooms preserved. This is the waiting room. The guests will now proceed to the tea room. In 1600s, the tea room now you'll see was built. That was the time samurai was ruling Japan. So this is the entrance of the tea room. On the right-hand side, you saw the shelf where the samurai used to place their work. Now the guests will enter and first proceed to the alcove. The incense container. And the flower container. Unfortunately, you cannot feel it, but The room is filled with the aroma of incense as well. So Shoko is the main guest. This Professor Okada is the second guest. The guest is greeting, the host is greeting the guest and offering to prepare the tea. This is what it looks like when everything is being prepared. The host also prepares the fire before the tea gathering. The host cleans the utensils in front of the guests just to show it's just as a courtesy. Because this is a casual tea gathering, the host and the guests are enjoying conversation while the host is preparing the green tea. The host asks the guests to have the sweets. Now the host turns the front side to the guest, so the beautiful part of the tea bowl is shown to the main guest when the tea is offered. The main guest pays respect to the second guest. And then thanks the host for the tea. The main guest thanked the host, saying this is perfect. The host prepared another cup full of tea for the second guest. The main guest asked the host to explain the utensils and decorations. So I am now explaining the meaning of the symbol. So the host is now cleaning the tea bowl. The main guest says they've had enough of the tea, so now the host can put away all the utensils. Okay, that's all for the video. I hope you enjoyed it. David, thank you very much. So we will move on to the presentation of utensils and decorations. David, thank you very much. So in this presentation, I would like to explain to you the theme of the tea gathering, and also and let you have a closer look at the utensils and decorations that you have. So as you can see in the during the Japanese tea ceremony, you've seen several Japanese arts and crafts. For example, calligraphy, as you can see here, flower arrangements, incense, and also architecture, lacquer, ceramics, many kinds of Japanese arts and crafts. And all these arts and crafts makes a harmony to help create a once-in-a-lifetime tea gathering. So it's a combination of arts and crafts that creates one whole art. That's why the Japanese tea ceremony is said to be a comprehensive art. So in this first, the alcove. Thank you, David. This is the alcove. So a formal Japanese room has an alcove. It's a place for display, and it's the most important place within the room. Here you can see the scroll, flower container, and the incense container. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is the most important decoration among all the tea room, the scroll, because it gives the hint the host is set. I mean, the hint to the theme the host selected. So for most of you, this must be the first time to experience the tea gathering, Japanese tea gathering. So this time we selected the theme as the basics of the way of tea. Here, this scroll says Wakei Seijaku. Shoko also introduced this word during her presentation. This is the basic principle the founder, Rikyu, said the most important. So Wa is harmony, K is to respect, and Sei is a purity, and Jak is a tranquility. So Rikyu said these four elements should be valued when you're practicing the way of tea. And this is the most basic of the way of tea. So that's why I selected this scroll. Next slide, please. And please have a closer look at the incense container and the flower container. These are selected to give you the sense of the season, autumn. So on the incense container, you can see the autumn flower and the insect that reminds us of the autumn. And in the flower container, we put typical autumn flower. Next slide, please. Thank you. And this is the utensils for tea. Next slide, please. These are the kettles and brazier. These are used for boiling the water. And we actually use real charcoal within the tea room to prepare the tea. Next slide, please. And the tea bowl and the tea container. The tea bowl is hand painted with a picture of autumn flower and Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji is the highest mountain in Japan and has a beautiful scenery. And the tea container is a lacquerware decorated with autumn maple leaves. Next slide, please. And next you see tea scoop, a ladle, and a tea whisk. These are all made from bamboo. Tea scoop is for scooping the powdered green tea we call matcha. And ladle is to scoop water. And the tea whisk for mixing the tea and the water. Next slide, please. And the wastewater receptacle, lid rest, utensil stand, and water container. These are the rest of the utensils. Next slide, please. Here you see another way of enjoying tea, the taste. So we serve dry sweets on the tray for dry sweets. Normally with the tin tea, we have dry sweets. With the thick tea, normally main sweets are served. You can enjoy the taste as well as the beautiful color and shapes of the sweets. Next slide, please. So that is it for the utensils and decorations. I hope you got the image of the basic way of tea, and I hope you have a chance to experience the actual one in the near future. Thank you very much. Okay, so I think it's the time for our breakout session. Before we go to the breakout session, let me give you some instruction. David, could you put up the PowerPoint page? Thank you. The next slide. I think next slide, actually. Yes, thank you very much. So we will have a breakout session now for 15 minutes. You will be divided into random group, and there will be a facilitator in each group. And we ask you to enjoy yourselves, and please introduce your typical traditional tea and sweets in your country. And also, could you share the situation where you would have this tea or tea gathering? And if you find anything interesting during the breakout session, please bring that back to the main stage and share with everyone else. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you also enjoy the breakout session.
Okay.
Hello.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. So shall we have someone share the experience on the main stage?
So would anybody like to come up on stage? Just raise your hand and we will bring you up on stage to talk about your experiences. I hope someone will. Anybody got any questions?
So David, maybe we can move on to the Q&A session.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, David. Trying to promote.
Oh, by the way, this is Masa Okada speaking. And walking around the breakout sessions, I really felt refreshing because in business schools, we usually in this kind of international settings, we seriously discuss, economics and business and politics and everything. But I really feel peaceful. All of us are talking about cultures and tea customs and so forth. So I really enjoy talking to all of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. So, you, Professor Okada. So, do we have any question?
Do have some questions and I will feed them through. So can you hear me? Okay. So
Yes.
what is the origin of the tea ceremony? Why was it first made and by who? A question from Carlos.
そうね。
じゃあ、プレゼンテーションのパワーポイント。
そうですね。Actually, it was established by the Senno Rikyu.
So, shall we,
yes.
David, is it possible to bring up the PowerPoint Shoko presented?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Where do you want me to go?
Yeah, next page.
I think
Probably the very
The beginning.
first section. Yes, very beginning.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to put you back on stage for a second and then I will get back to the beginning. Okay?
Yeah,
Yes,
That's
I think
the one.
yeah, this one.
Yes. Thank you. That's the one.
That's the one. Yes. Okay. Actually, the Senno Rikyu, he refined and established the current way of tea. So he was a merchant, but he explored his tea, and it was a very peaceful solution. And to invite, and he was a host and invite all the samurai, and but in a tea room, it was very equal, and then he actually established the tea very well, and we carry over the spirit and also the way of the tea until now.
Okay, another question. So, Shoko, when hosting, how long does the ceremony last in terms of conversation? Or is it just to drink the tea and then leave to have conversation somewhere else?
Oh, you mean how long this lasts?
Yes, do you spend a long time in conversation right the way through the ceremony? Or is it just ceremonial to start and then you go away somewhere else to have your cup of tea?
The conversation. Well, actually, okay, I will explain. So the one you've seen is a casual tea ceremony, tea gathering. So it lasted very short, and also you can have a conversation during the tea ceremony. So all through the tea gathering. So all through tea gathering, you can have conversation in this case. However, there's one we call a formal tea gathering, which lasts about 2 hours. 4 hours, sorry, 4 hours. And the host will prepare she or she will prepare charcoals. They will serve light meal and then serve thick tea and thin tea. and thick tea and thin tea. So during the thick tea, you are asked to keep silent because this is a very more of a sacred kind of a ceremonial part of the tea gathering. But in other sessions, you can have conversation casually.
Yeah. So in the tea room, in a very formal one, we keep the less talking and sort of like in implicit communication with using a five sense. That's what I mentioned.
Another question is, do you have any fermentation in Japanese tea?
Fermentation. We say that for green tea, it's half fermented. If you ferment thoroughly, it becomes like an English tea, black tea. So the tea leaf itself is similar. Actually, the one we use for Japanese tea originates from China, as I told, and the ones that you use for the black tea or English tea originated from around India. So they're a little bit different tea trees. But basically, for when you prepare the green tea, you half ferment to keep the green. So when you pick the green leaves, you bring it to steam it to kill the fermentation, stop the fermentation. Then you process the tea. I hope I explained enough. I used to live in Shizuoka where the tea leaf industry is very strong. So there you can see in May, all the farmers will pick their tea leaves and then they will hurry to the factory to stop the fermentation. Because after they pick the tea leaf start to fermentation. So unless they stop it, they steam it quickly, it's going to turn into a brown leaf. So in May, you can see the farmers having black eyes because they have to work overnight.
A question from Eda Inozu, who really likes, as I'm sure all of us do, the art style used on the implements. Is there a special name for this? Is it something that is particularly reserved for the tea ceremony? How does that work?
Which one? Sorry, David.
It's the design of the artistic design on the cups and the various implements that you use in the tea ceremony. Is it special in itself?
Yes, yeah, it's hand painted one by one. So it's a special art craft. So every one of them is different. And the technique used is also different for the tea bowl and the tea container. Does that answer your question? I hope.
So these are all especially designed for tea gatherings.
And they so in Japan there are several areas where it's famous for. In Japan there are several areas that are famous for ceramics or lacquerware. There you can find the typical design from that area as well.
And the host carefully choose the utensil of decoration based on the theme for the tea gathering. And that is a message of hospitality to greet the guest.
A question from Eldar Aliyev. Were there any limitations for the number of guests, and what was their status? Was it mainly for noble people?
Well, as I explained, so everyone in the tea room is, sorry. So everyone in the tea room is treated equal. So whether you're noble or you're just a ordinary person, so it doesn't matter. It's the same. And as for the number of guests, normally we have, we think that five, less than five is best for a small gathering to have a better communication among host and guests. But there are occasions we invite a lot of guests and in a very big room.
20 people got together in one room in the big the tea gathering. But normally, 3 to 5, that will be the nice and decent size.
Of the small tea gathering.
Nicolette would like to know at what stage children are introduced to the tea ceremony to ensure that the culture continues across the generations. Are you taught it in school?
Well, for example, I started learning tea ceremony at the age of 6. Traditionally, in the old times, we were told that starting something new from age of 6 is good. So that's why I was pulled to the tea ceremony at the age of 6. How about you, Sayaka? I'm not sure whether the younger generation started earlier. Is it Lily or Sayaka? Can we invite them?
I started tea ceremony about 9.
Okay.
9.
Really, yeah.
How about Lily?
How about Lily?
Is Lily in the room?
Lily-san.
Hello?
Hello?
Okay, and Siraj would like to know whether you are, out of respect, only allowed one cup of tea, or can you ask for a second one?
That's a good question. Yes, you can actually. In the video, the main guest told the host that they had enough tea, so the host can start cleaning up. So until the main guest gives a cue like this, the host must continue to serve the tea. That's the rule.
I didn't know.
And Elder,
It's a limited number of tea was prepared, so you cannot have another tea.
It's difficult
General.
to prepare.
and another question from Eldar. He says that in Chinese culture, there is a separate tea house with the absence of similar things within it. Is this true for Japanese tea ceremony too? Is there a special tea house?
Tea house meaning tea room.
A separate building, a special building just for tea?
Ah, yes.
At the beginning of the video, we showed a separate tea house built only for the tea gatherings. So we do have such kind of a tea house in Japan too.
I would like to ask a question. You're wearing such wonderful clothes, Akiko and Shoku, and they are traditional Japanese dress, I gather. Could you explain a little bit about them? Because they are so interesting to see.
Okay, so you go first. You first. Shoko, you can go first. Okay,
Why don't
so
you
maybe
stand
we'll
up?
just stand up and let you have a full view of kimono. So these are called kimono. Men and women also wear kimonos, not just for women, but men also wear these. Shall we turn around?
And the back side, sometimes, she has a nice the design of a belt. It's very beautiful. So depending on the season, we change the the type of a kimono.
Textile.
Textile. Yeah, in the summer, it's more like thin and the cool one. And the winter, we have a more thick one. So it's quite easy to combination for the various type of kimono with a belt.
So the kimono is made from one roll of the textile, and then they cut it into pieces and then sew it together. So this is one roll, another roll continues here. So it's rather a two-dimensional kind of clothing. And normally, for example, I have a kimono handed down from my grandmother. So that means one kimono can last for maybe half a decade, and you can still wear it. And so it's a tradition to also hand down the kimonos generation to generation. David,
Thank
do you have
you.
further questions? Thanks for
Any
thanks
other
for-
questions? I'm going to bring everyone on stage. If you
Okay.
could turn your cameras on, everybody who is presenting.
And
That's
also, I like to share the Japanese sweets. Today, we prepare for the season in autumn, the full moon a few days ago, and this is the dried sweets. And each season, and we can feel the season in the shape of
This is the full moon.
yeah, full moon.
And what are they made of?
They're made of
Sugar.
rice, sugar and rice powder, and often with some jelly as well.
But fat free.
Yes, everything,
Oh, that's important.
everything all
Yes.
natural.
Yes.
Great. Well, I'm going to bring everybody on stage.
Okay.
Please turn your cameras on. So, Reika, can you turn your camera on? Because on behalf of the consortium and everybody watching, I would like to say thank you for a fantastic presentation. I'm sure we can all agree. You went through an enormous amount of trouble, and we really appreciated the insights into Japanese culture and learnt a lot. And I'm sure that it has left many of us really hungry to come to Japan to do the tea ceremony in person. So on behalf of the consortium, wherever you are in the world, can we give our hosts from Keio a round of applause, please?
Anytime.
Thank you. We're waiting for you in Japan.
You
Well,
will be
thank you
our
so
main
much.
guest.
Okay, well, thank you, Masa, thank you, Kiko, thank you, Shopu, thank you, everybody, for all that you've done to make this possible. We really appreciate it. And I will end the session now. So, sayonara.
Sayonara. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you in Tokyo.